is J.K. Perry. I'm the Executive Director at High Five Access Media. We've been in the Valley for about 40 years. And what we do as it relates to this is we provide youth opportunities to learn about film, video. We give them the technical skills to be able to operate cameras, and then also be able to tell stories. And then once they go through some of our workshops, they can then check out that equipment for free to make their own videos and show them on local cable television, on the internet, social media. So throughout the year, we offer workshops, summer camps for youth. We also do curriculum and training in the local high schools. And I think a bigger part of what we do is we make connections in the community. So, for example, bringing these youth films to the film festival. It's something that Corinne with the film festival and I have been working on for quite some time, and it's wonderful just to see it brought to fruition here today.
Meredith?
Hi, I'm Meredith Kirkman, and I launched her film camp, which was such an exciting opportunity, to continue learning in film, because I pivoted. I started in theater, and if you were here growing up, you might have seen me on the stage. I started musical theater and went to pursue that in Chicago at Chicago College of Performing Arts. And funny enough, this guy, Coburn Goss, he was my professor once for one semester for acting on film, which is just a crazy full circle that I'm sitting on a panel up here, because it was really toward the end of my college that I pivoted to focusing more in film, and beautifully naively went into a feature film right out of college, and that's a whole nother story, but it definitely ignited me to be interested enough to continue learning. And I love mentoring and giving back to communities, so it felt only right to collaborate with the Youth Power 365 here with the Vail Valley Foundation to launch a program to support women in film. And we've made over 15 short films in 3 years. So we've done a lot of spaghetti throwing at the wall and seeing what sticks, and we really switch every year we approach it differently. This one was a lot of mentorship, of bringing a couple of emerging filmmakers in with these aspiring filmmakers, and so there's a lot of opportunities for mentorship, but a lot of opportunities for them to explore the world of film.
Hi, I'm Coburn Goss, and like Meredith, I started out only wanting to do theater. So I moved to Chicago, which is a huge theater town, and started working a lot after paying my dues, of course. And then something really exciting happened in Chicago, which was a lot of television and a lot of movies came into town. And I didn't know what I was doing in front of the camera, because I'd never had any training in front of the camera. So I learned my way through and learned how to kind of adjust, I guess adjust is the right word, my performance for on camera. And I started to really fall in love with it, like even more so than theater. So that's where I'm at right now. And then I started, kind of went back to my first love, which was writing. And that's what I've been doing mostly now. I still act. it's kind of funny to say, acting is my day job. And so I produced a short a couple of years ago, and produced and wrote a film that was in the festival this year. So I love the whole storytelling, anything that has to do with storytelling. That's where I really land on it right now. Whether it's acting, writing, producing, it's just fun to tell a story, right? I think that's why we're all here.
And I'm going to actually introduce myself, because I know some of you have seen me at the festival moderating and doing Q&As, but I was an actor for a long time. I didn't really get into acting until I was 27. I had no idea that I would ever be involved in that, or ever even dreamed of it as a possibility in my life. But I actually had a career in music retail. I was the head buyer for Tower Records in New York City, and I know a lot of you kids are too young to remember that, but it was a huge record store. And I made the decisions about how many copies of everything went in there. And VH1 wanted somebody who worked for Tower to go on the air and do an album review every week. And they chose me. And I went on every Saturday morning during the top 20 video countdown. Hi, this is James from Tower Records, and this week we're talking about, and I'd have to fill 90 seconds of airtime. And somebody saw me on TV doing that, and they were a Tisch film student at NYU, and they asked me to be in a student film. And I'd never acted before. They said, well, you're gonna be playing a guy on a music channel. And I did it, and people said, hey, you're a little bit good at this. And me being a cocky 27-year-old decided to go into a very popular theater school in New York City and audition for a teacher named Uta Hagen. And I was ballsy enough with what I did. I got accepted into her acting program and then went to a theater school and then decided that I didn't like theater at all and started acting in front of the camera, doing student films that led to doing commercials, that led to getting to audition and do 2 episodes of Law and Order, 2 episodes of 30 Rock, and that led me into some screenwriting and some stunt work, believe it or not, and stand-in work, photo doubling work. I've pretty much been on film set. I was on film sets pretty much for 15 years. So yeah, I've been through the ringer with the film industry. I think I'd like to all ask us about how is and maybe more so for Kobe and Meredith, how has been working in the film entertainment industry been different than you thought it was going to be when you set out to work in it?
Yeah, oh gosh, so much, so much. And something that you and I were talking about just outside, which is sometimes, like, okay, I'll give you a very present example. I got an audition for Chicago Med that I'm working on right now, and it's due Tuesday. It's not fun. It's not a fun role, but it would give me my health insurance for the year. So I know I'd be on set, and I know that I would feel good about it, and all that. But like when I was starting out, this kind of an opportunity would be like, oh my God, I have an audition for a TV show. But now it's like, okay, this will get me my health insurance. So I think practicality sets in at a certain point, and I think about doing this kind of work and also commercial work, voiceover work, as a way to make money so that I can do what I really love, which is writing and telling stories. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. I never would have thought that I would be like, ugh, oh well, I have to do it, you know? But every job's that way, right? There's not a job in the world that's not that way. And I think it's good to sort of know that going in.
And building on what you just said, I think, especially if you want to go in and be an actor, how many people here, young people, are interested in acting? Do we have anybody? The advice I would give to anybody interested in acting is, if you're going into it because you want to be the next Brad Pitt or the next Julia Roberts, that's not the reason to go into it, and that's not even the reason why those people went into acting. Acting is a job and a craft just like anything else, and you're going to have to do a lot of things that you find unglamorous and unsexy, because that's just part of the job, whether it's regional theater or it's doing background or extra work on a film in order to learn how to behave on a film set and how everything works on a film set, or auditioning for roles that you just don't want to play, but the casting director thinks that you're right for it. But you have to, if you're thinking about doing it to be a superstar, that's not the reason to do it. If you're doing it because you can't think of anything else you love as much, then that's the reason to do it. What about you, Meredith?
Yeah, well, the similar thing is that it does take so much collaboration and community coming together, right? So for a musical, you have still your lighting crew, you have your director, you have an orchestra, your actors behind the scenes. So there's a similar crossover, but with film, the cool thing about it is that, you know, we shot this 3 years ago and we're still showing it. It's a forever stamp, and we get to keep it forever. And I remember when I was getting involved in theater so young, we would do a show and then it would be over and I would cry, and it was so upsetting because it was fleeting. So that's one thing I love about film. I never understood, the thing that shocked me so much is how much work goes into it and the details, you know, like you see the 2 angles and then maybe a second shot, but the amount of time it takes to set up this shot and then to switch your room and to do the other shot, like it takes so much time to move the camera and have everyone be in sync. So time and finance is always, I think filmmakers will say, is like the biggest challenge. You go in with a plan and then things happen. So I think it teaches you a lot of life lessons of just being flexible. Our first film I severely sprained my ankle running down the theater stairs the first take. And I had 3 days of production still to do, and I pushed through it, and I think that showed a lot of perseverance, but it takes flexibility, but focus, and I love it.
Yeah. Do you think, in your opinion, do you think more work goes into having to get a theater production off the ground or a movie? What do you think is more difficult? Or
they both take a lot of preparation, you know, and anything great comes with preparation, you know, so for musicals, you're in rehearsals for weeks, you know, you're dedicating so much time for that weekend or for the production run that you're in to nail it. But for film, you have a whole pre-production time where you're working with different people in the department, you're planning out your shots, because production is like the amazing race. It's this, go, go, go. And so, you know, it's a lot of work, and then editing and doing the sound design. So it's twice as much work in post. The production is the fun part. And then of course being here at a film festival or premiere is also the fun part. But I think maybe film, just because there's so much technically on the other end, but they both take a tremendous amount of preparation.
I want to hear from the young people. How many young people that are interested in getting into the film industry do we have here right now? Could you show of hands? Put them up high because it's a little hard to see up here. What would you field are you thinking about getting into?
Screenwriting.
Screenwriting. Who else?
Camera work.
Camera work.
Post-production.
Post-production. Like editing. I want to hear from everybody, so.
I'm here. I feel like I like to do the music stuff for film because my main goal in life is music, and I just feel like that'd be a good way of integrating both.
Interesting. Does anybody have any questions? Anything they want to pick our brains about? Because I mean, we've all done so much in the industry, and there's probably things that we know about that we're not even telling you right now. Any sort of question at all about getting started or what it looks like to work in the field?
Realistically, how difficult is it to find a job in the film industry? Like, say you just graduated from film school.
Well, let's start with Kobe at the end.
There's going to be some rocky years, but something that James touched on earlier, the only reason to do it is if you don't want to do anything else. I slept on a lot of couches for some years. I had no money. You're gonna have to have day jobs. You're gonna have to work your way up. But I could not have imagined doing anything else. So I think by the time I started making money because I was kind of a known actor as a theater actor in town, getting into the movie and TV commercial world, it was a little bit easier. But I did have a lot to learn about what it was like to perform in front of the camera. So there is a learning curve. I'm not really answering your question directly, other than I think anytime you're going to do something creative, you just have to be willing to sort of enjoy the process of it. There is money to be made. It might take a while, and you might have to have a day job for a while. Is that kind of what you were thinking? Yeah.
Remind me, what was it you were thinking about pursuing?
Just like any filmmaking career, really.
Like directing, I guess.
Yeah, my ultimate goal was to own a production company.
Well, yeah, that's a very Meredith, you have any thoughts?
Well, I blindly went into going into producing a feature film, which I think, you can go in blindly to produce a short. We all did. So I call ourselves beautifully naive, but it propelled me so much that now that project is with me in my back pocket, and that experience has given me a lot, enough to start a film program, So if you are getting a bunch of no's, create your own projects, there's a lot behind just bringing your friends together and producing something, whether it is like a music video or a short, or if you have enough resources. I was in Chicago, so we had a lot of students in different universities that we tapped into, networking, finding people that are connected, so it takes a community. So I think it's how I started was just doing it, and we wanted to finish it, and then we got it into the Vail Film Festival, and now it's on Prime. So we did the right steps, but we didn't really have that end goal. We kind of did things backwards. We're like, oh, we actually need to fully get an LLC for our production company. We had one, but we were like, okay, we need to be legitimate. And so it's learning by going. And in this day and age, Google is your friend. YouTube is your friend. You can learn so much by teaching yourself. So that's kind of how I did it and why I went into education, because I learned so much by teaching and collaborating, and I'm right there with you. I'm trying to get a job too, so just putting that out there.
Just saying that, in any aspect of this business, there is kind of a ladder system.
Yes.
You start out as a production assistant for a while, and then you move up the next rung. And just speaking as an actor, you start out as an extra. You do enough extra work. You get a co-star role, then a guest star role, then you just kind of, but you kind of have to sit on that ladder rung for a while before you move up. That's just, there are people who we hate who go to the top of the ladder. No, we don't. But there are some people, and that's the other thing I want to say about your creative lives. Don't compare yourself to anyone, because that is the death of your career if you live in that. But yeah, I'd say overall there is a ladder system to what we do.
And JK, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, because you do something slightly different than we've all done, but it's still a career in the filmmaking industry.
Yeah, I got my start as a journalist. I was a writer, and I started working at High Five, and I was basically self-taught. So everything that I learned about video, I learned from asking other people questions, YouTube videos, reading books. So this is something that you can learn on your own. And a lot of the other folks, they talk about what happens in the big cities where the film industry exists, but there's a lot of other opportunities to be creative outside of that. There's a lot of people that are, for example, here in the Valley, that maybe they were in LA at one point, but now they've come back and they have their own production companies and they're doing work here locally. So it doesn't necessarily have to exist in those places that we traditionally think of where the film industry exists. There are other jobs, ways to make ends meet, even doing wedding videos, shooting those, editing those. That's a practical way to be able to make money. So I would just say, don't always think of it sort of in the traditional sense of how the industry works, but there's a lot of other opportunities there for you to get involved. And I would just say, seek those out.
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying, because the point that I was thinking of is, if you want to make a production company, to found a production company, your job with doing that would be to produce content. But sometimes people don't have a full, wide lens view of what content can be. It could be wedding videos, it could be commercials for local businesses, it could be anything like that. And anything like that you do sharpens your filmmaking skills, and it makes you a better filmmaker. Because when you are waiting on the rung of a ladder, like Kobe says, you want to be prepared for that next rung and the rung past that. And the only way you can do that is by producing content. If you're a camera operator, operate the camera a lot. Shoot a lot of video. If you're acting, get involved in anything you can to keep yourself fresh with acting. And I know so many people in my life that have called themselves writers, or I'm a screenwriter. I'm like, well, what are you writing? Well, I'm waiting for an opportunity. No, writers write, actors act. filmmakers make films. Even if you're not getting paid for it at the moment, keeping yourself fresh and challenging yourself with it, which is why it's important. You have to truly love this thing. There's a very famous actor named Michael Caine, and he wrote, in my opinion, the best book on acting on film. I don't know if you've ever read it, but the first paragraph of the first page is, if you can think of anything else you want to be in life other than an actor, close this book and go, please do that. Because you have to want to do this so bad. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's like that for just about any other thing in the film industry, because you really have to work your way into it. And the other thing that I want to say is, you mentioned film school, and then we'll get to some other questions. I just want to address that because I know a lot of people who've gone to film school. Do you know what does anybody here know what the most important aspect of a film school is? Or tell me what you think the most important aspect of a quality that a film school has is. Yeah, tell me what you think.
Connections.
Okay, exactly. It's the alumni network. You can learn the skills they teach there anywhere. You can even teach them yourself. The alumni network is what makes going to a film school valuable, which is why USC is so good. The Tisch Film School in New York City, SCAD in Savannah, it's the alumni network and the opportunities that you're gonna get from having gone there, because it's almost like you're getting recommended by those people. Who else in the audience has, I think somebody back there had something to say or a question? I mean, speak up, this is your chance to pick our brains about anything. Yes, sir.
Have any of you had any luck, well, I guess Meredith has, funding your own projects? What's that process like?
Yeah, we did a GoFundMe. Well, we first got a grant from our college. And so we were like, oh, it was like really exciting. And we're like, okay, this is gonna happen now. And then we did additional crowdfunding, and we sent it out to our friends and families, and did it that way. And I know a lot of the people that were on that project are still doing that in Los Angeles now. They're all like in film now. They all went from theater to film, which is cool. But they're doing crowdfunding like that. There's other ways, but that's how we did it, and we raised 20 grand for a feature, which is kind of unheard of. I mean, what are typical budgets for movies? If you could.
For indies?
Mm-hmm, for indies.
I mean, it could be anything.
Like?
500 to $1 million to even then the next step would be like mid-million, 2 to 7 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that's in a different range, but you can be crafty and do shoestring budgets, which people are really appreciating these days. And then you can get investors on your side. I've not fully been experienced with that yet, of having someone invest money in where you're giving money back. I think that's the whole next step of like where your film can actually really make money. Like ours is on Prime Video, and we make dollars, pennies, dollars. So at least it's up somewhere, which I'm grateful for, but I think it's tricky to figure out how to make money with film. That takes a lot of time.
You really kind of have to manifest your projects. You have to sort of like tell yourself it's going to happen. Because I'm terrible asking people for money, but somehow I did it, and I got money for the movie that was done here. So yeah, it can happen, but you have to really believe in it.
Well, I've raised money for a film back in 2010. I had been through the casting process for several years and was getting frustrated at the roles I was getting sent out for. And I wrote my own script. It was called The Price, and it was kind of a post-apocalyptic Western sort of thing. I got to play the bad guy in it, even though I was too young to play the part at the time. And we raised about $20,000. It was a 17-minute short, and we used about 12 grand to make the film and do the post-production, and we used the other 8 grand to submit to film festivals and get it in front of people. One of the things that we did at Indiegogo, which is kind of like GoFundMe, another interesting thing that we did was, it occurred to me that because it's very difficult to make money from a short film, we applied to be a not-for-profit, a 501c3. So everybody who gave on our Indiegogo site or donated money got to write it off on their taxes. because it's literally impossible to make money on a short film. It's essentially a calling card for you, as like a business card, so people can see a sample of what you're capable of doing. And we went to 37 different festivals, including this one, which is why I'm here today moderating this panel, because I became friendly with Scott and Sean Cross, who founded it, and they asked me to come here and do this stuff. And that's another way that you can build up your filmmaking network, is if you show the work that you've done at film festivals. You meet other filmmakers, and maybe another filmmaker is like, hey, you know, I'm a good cinematographer, I'm not a great director, but you're a better director than I am, so why don't we do something together? And this guy in this film over here is a really great actor, and I think if he had a better director, and that's how these things come together, and you all move up the ladder together, the people you meet. I mean, how many of you have met people here at this festival that you didn't know before the festival? Stay in touch, because those are the people who are going to help you with your future projects. Any other thoughts?
I was just going to say, you know, if you're underclassmen here in the Valley, you know, if you go to Eagle Valley High School, you know, reach out to someone at Red Canyon High School. You know, try to involve different peers. Find other people who, you know, want to run that camera if that's not your thing. You know, you're a writer or you're a director. Because the more people that you collaborate with and the more different from you that they are, the better that the thing that you're creating is going to be in the end. So that's something that we always preach, is collaboration. So don't be afraid to, you know, reach out to someone at a different school to get them involved in whatever project you're working on. And that's something that we try to do if you're ever interested. You know, we know students at all the different schools who are working on different things, and we can help you make those connections.
Did anybody else have anything? Yeah, go ahead.
What are things that you wish that you were doing at the start of your career? Or that you had to?
Not waiting around for the phone to ring all the time. I mean, that's a really big actor problem, but I think it's also can potentially be a problem with other people in the film industry, thinking that if I was good, people should be calling me all the time. No, you really have to put yourself out there. You really have to find ways to hone your craft. And I spent a lot of time being sad that no one was calling me. And it was a lot of, I mean, I don't want to look back and say, you know, slap my hand, but like that's the one thing I probably would. And also opportunities, like they kind of sometimes don't come around more than once. I remember one time I tested for an NBC show, and the audition went well. I didn't get the part, but I got a call from a manager in LA that he wanted to talk to me. And I was like, oh no, I'm a theater actor. I'm a theater actor. So I didn't go for the meeting in Los Angeles, because I thought that kind of thing would happen all the time. No, it doesn't.
One thing that I'm struggling through right now, catching up on, I'm playing a lot of catch up as I'm transitioning in my life right now, is just staying up on top of finances. And like really tracking, like if you are making some money on projects, like record that and record your time that you spend and keep all of what you've created organized. It's taken me months to be like, okay, where is that video, and like this and this, and you know, I'm building out a website right now, and it's taken a long time to go find everything. So I wish I was a little bit more organized as I was doing different theater shows that had video, and you know, just staying organized with my portfolio and finances. I wish years ago I was doing that, and now I'm playing catch up.
You have anything to add, Jake? I would just say, to add to them, I just wish I was a little bit braver when I was younger.
Me too.
And dare to suck, because you're never going to get better if you don't suck first. Don't be afraid of failing, because if you're afraid of failing, you're never going to do anything. And that I wish somebody had told me that when I was 25. Who else?
I was curious if there's any type of project management software specific to the film industry that would help you coordinate.
I have no knowledge of that.
Well, there's a couple sites that like professionally represent your films, like Film Freeway is a big one. So if you make your film and you want to apply it to a festival, like here at the Vail Film Festival, you submit it through Film Freeway, and it's kind of like your college profile for your film. And then with that profile, you can submit it to a ton of festivals. And so that's like a efficient way. IMBD is also, even if it's a short film you've done, put it on IMBD. It's like a tedious job, but you'll get the hang of it, and it's just kind of like submitting maybe like a Wikipedia. It's like supposed to be like credible, but even shorts, like anything you do, put it on IMBD.
It doesn't exist if it's not on IMDb.
Exactly. And you either, you know, I was just having this conversation with a couple of you guys, like have your credit on IMDb, and all of those step and repeat photos, put them up on there, because it's kind of like your LinkedIn, which reminds me I need to do my LinkedIn. But you know, so there's a couple of those. But maybe it is a website. Maybe it's like on Google Drive where you have just everything organized on the internet, so you can always have access to it. And then also on your computer, YouTube. Vimeo is also a big one where you put your videos up, and it's kind of like the more professional independent films of YouTube. It's like a little bit more specified for filmmakers, and you can actually be really found on Vimeo for your short films. So that's another great way to organize. I don't know if you have anything to add.
I think we have time for about 2 more questions. So make them good ones, yes.
When it comes to giving opportunities to the youth, I know JK does this with High Five, but is there anything you guys do, you two?
They're up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, her film camp's been really awesome to collaborate, and I'm blown away at what middle schoolers are capable of. Like, we have like such age gaps, but at the same time, like, I feel like we're friends and we're all chatting about these topics together, and so it's really powerful, and I hope to continue giving back to education, because it's also a good opportunity for you to learn and be a mentor.
I teach on-camera acting most of the time. This past summer I did a thing at Northwestern University called the Cherubs, which is a National High School Institute. That was like a 6-week or 5-week camp. So yeah, I like to do that at least once a year, like just put some time aside to teach, because I enjoy it. I enjoy helping. Like I said before, I had no idea what it was like to be in front of a camera. So I want to give that back.
I was a counselor at a summer camp for many years that worked with families that were affected by HIV. And I would bring cameras to the camp and allow the kids to invent skits, and we would film them, and we would include them in the process. It would be an older camera of mine, but something that they couldn't really break, but teach them how to use it very basically so that they can film things and really let them lead the way, and just only kind of push it along or help lift it when it was something they didn't know how to do, using things like Final Cut or Premiere, so that at the end of the camp session they could play their little short movies that they did, and it was very rewarding. Who else?
I don't want to take away from a youth question if there's any other students that want to say anything. All right, cool. So one thing that I've found to be really helpful in my own career is like staying up with industry news. And I love that on this panel, we're like, you know, not shying away from like the harsh realities of like what a media career looks like. I feel like it would be a little remiss to like not address the writer's strike. I don't know if that's like a dirty word in the film industry at this point, but I think, you know, I would be interested to know like how that has affected the two of you, and then JK, since I know kind of like what your career looks like a little better, like I guess just kind of like the state of media and journalism like as a whole, so that like everybody who wants to be in this field or wants to be in these kind of careers is going in with like eyes wide open and like, yes, like, you know, you can't picture yourself doing anything else, like this is what it really, really looks like.
It's been a hard year for the industry. Very hard. I'll be very open. I lost my health insurance for the first time in 15 years. But, you know, you're doing something as a collective for the greater good. So it wasn't just the writer's strike, it was also the actor's strike. And I think some good stuff came out of it. So I'm completely in support of both strikes. And it has to happen sometimes.
Yeah, it's under the principle of share the wealth, you know, and so we see that movies have the capabilities to make millions and millions of dollars. And it's a shame that a lot of these actors and writers are trying to make professions and can't make a living. So it definitely needed to happen. And the tone in Los Angeles right now is definitely like optimistic and energetic. They're like, all right, finally, like let's get back to the ground, because they were also very suffered by the pandemic as well. So it was really two hits to the industry. And there was a lot of projects that had to be put on hold. I heard a ton of filmmakers this weekend talk about how they couldn't even talk about their films and go on the film circuit because of it, because there was a lot of rules with different unions. And that is a bummer, but they know that like, it's not the pity party, you know, it's for the brighter future. So I think everyone's looking forward to 2024.
Well, my background obviously is more in media, and I think, you know, we've all seen over the years that, you know, newspapers are shuttering and local news stations are being bought out by massive conglomerations of companies, and their messages are becoming monotype. So, you know, media right now is, it's in the way that a lot of folks look at media, you know, journalism is a four-letter word to a lot of people. So it is really difficult to be in media on that side of it. And, you know, I stayed in it throughout it all because I'm passionate about it. And, you know, if there's anything that I can give to you, it would just be that, yeah, it is a challenge, but if you're passionate about it, keep working on it, and something's going to happen. And like myself, I found myself in an industry that I never thought I would be in. You know, I was a writer and a journalist, and now I'm, you know, running a small little nonprofit. So you don't know where life is going to take you, and, you know, just be open to those opportunities. They're there in front of you, and you know, take hold of them. Yeah.
Any other questions from any of the young people?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So I know we had a little interest with screenwriting. I definitely would never call myself a writer. So I have a question for you. If someone's interested in an idea they want to bring to life and start bringing it to a script, you know, like there's a traditional way to write it, so maybe we can talk a little bit about that, but what is the best way to approach a new idea to put it into a script?
Outlining is good. I spent many years thinking I was better than an outline, that I didn't need one, and those were all scripts that didn't get finished. So outlining, watching a lot of movies, reading a lot of screenplays. Get your hands on as many scripts as possible, and you start to see just the way things are done. It's not that you have to copy them verbatim, but just there is a, I hate to use the word formula, there is a formula. So yeah, I think reading scripts and then watching the movie after, very helpful.
Okay.
That's some of the best advice given up here, because writing a screenplay is almost like writing a song. Verse, choruses, bridges, and you have to know, because you won't get through the door with a screenplay if a reader opens up the page for like a production company or something and they see the formatting is wrong, or there's too much exposition in it or something like that. They're just gonna be like, nope, and they're gonna move on to the next thing. So you have to be creative within the confines of the accepted formula for screenwriting. Very important. Well, let's close up. Do you have any closing comments you'd like to give? Let's start with Kobe.
Something I said before that I think is very important. Enjoy your process. Enjoy it. I think one of the things that I also wish I could have gone back and do is just like, enjoy where I was. Enjoy that one line on my first television gig. and not wish that it was more lines. Enjoy where you are right now and enjoy learning that much more for the next one.
Meredith, go ahead.
Okay. I think that if you are interested in storytelling, it is a really strong thing to explore because it's another way to have conversations. Like if you feel passionate about an issue, like mental health, or like our film Ladies in Red, making a film about getting your period. I mean, that was like a really hard conversation, for me to have it in my late 20s, but when I was a young girl, I would have loved to have that. So it's an opportunity to normalize conversations and share it, so it can be so powerful. So if you have something to say, put it into a film. It's such a unique opportunity to share your story.
I would just iterate, take advantage of the resources that you have there for you. Your teachers in your schools, the organizations like her film camp, High Five Access Media, the Vail Film Festival, and just, look around. I mean, there's a lot more in this valley, I think, than everybody knows. So just, keep an eye out for those and take advantage of those while you're here before you move on.
I think I would just reiterate what I said before. Be brave. Don't be afraid to try things. Don't think, who am I to do this? Why shouldn't you be able to do anything that anybody you admire does? Don't wait around for permission from somebody to do something. Do what you can with what you have. And then as you get more resources, do more and do better. And if you're gonna fail, fail well. Learn from it. And keep making films. Thank you everybody for coming. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to the Vail Film Festival.